Human beings are human beings, just treat everyone like that. Good day to our GIC 15 Purposive Communication subject teacher, Ma'am Emily Hungao, and in behalf of my research group mates, Malifir Jadon, Naive Ira, Nutu Louis J, Yap Justin Luis, and Julita Libukasan, I am Ephraim Perez Rondina from BSDC 1A. And allow me to introduce to you our research proposal entitled The Stand of the Straight Community to the LGBTQIA+ Rights. Before I would go into proceed to the introduction, allow me to introduce the definition of terms that I will be using later. First, gender identity is defined as a person's internal, deeply felt sense of being female or male, neither, both, or something other than female and male. A person's gender identity does not necessarily correspond to their sex assigned at birth. Homosexual is defined as a sexual orientation in which a person's primary sexual and romantic attractions are toward people of the same sex. LGBT is an acronym to describe those who are lesbian, gay, bisexual, and transgender. Sexual orientation is a person's sense of attraction to sexual desire for individuals as the same sex, another sex, both or neither. Transgender is the gender identity of people whose sex assigned at birth does not conform to their identified or lived gender. Introduction. The misconceptions on LGBT people being spread due to lack of awareness among the public is causing them mental health related issues as well. Since most of the public are preempted by negative stereotypes towards LGBT, it is inevitable for some LGBT members to experience not only discrimination but also personal troubles. This challenges alone are prompting us to become aware of how the public view on LGBT community affects their way of living and their freedom of self-expression as human beings. The researchers will conduct a study to investigate the stand of the straight community to the LGBTQIA+ community rights. The study also aims to answer misconceptions about the LGBTQIA+ community to establish respect and awareness of the different gender rules that the current society has. Statement of the problem. The first one is determine the stand of the straight community to the LGBTQIA+ rights. Second, evaluate what are the misconceptions of the LGBTQIA+ rights. Third, or the last one, is provide different interpretations from male and female individuals towards the LGBTQIA+ community. This statement of the problem would be gathered through virtual communication, and some are through face-to-face communication but observe social distancing to avoid the virus. Next is the research questions. The first one is, what is the understanding of the straight community about the LGBTQIA+ community? Second, what are the misconceptions towards the members of the LGBTQIA+ community? And lastly, what are the viewpoints of the straight community to the LGBTQIA+ community rights? Related study. The UP Babaylan, a student LGBT organization established in the Philippines, drafted the National Anti-Discrimination Bill 20 years ago, which aims to protect not only the LGBT student but as well as the entire LGBT community. However, according to UP Babaylan, the delay of the approval of the proposed bill is making LGBT people feel not protected and unsafe at all amidst the evident discrimination within the society. In the eyes of LGBT adults, greater social acceptance has come as a result of more Americans knowing someone who is lesbian, gay, bisexual, and transgender, as well as the efforts of high-profile public figures. A large majority of 70% says individuals simply knowing someone who is LGBT has helped a lot in terms of making society as a whole more accepting. Similar size majorities say well-known public figures, both LGBT of 67% and non-LGBT of 66%, have helped change societal views. Edgar of 2017 explains that schools should be safe places for everyone, but in the Philippines, students who are lesbian, gay, bisexual, and transgender to often find that their schooling experience is marred by bullying, discrimination, lack of access to LGBT-related information, and in some cases physical or sexual assault. The methodology. This includes project design, research instrument, locale of the study, research respondents, data gathering procedure, and statistical treatment. The first one is the research design. The descriptive method was used in this study to define the method. A descriptive study observes and describes the presence, frequency of absence of characteristics of a phenomenon as it naturally occurs in order to gain additional information. In this study, structured interviews are conducted to elicit information on the knowledge of straight community about their stand regarding the LGBTQIA+ rights. The researchers will interview the straight community to have encountered a member of LGBTQIA+ community, since issues about the LGBTQIA+ community is timely. The research instrument is the researcher uses media to communicate the respondents due to this pandemic. The researcher also emailed the respondents the letter of request and a consent form before doing the research interview. As a formality, and for the approval, it is an open-ended questions that could answer their stand and perspective towards the question provided. The researcher made 10 questions. 6 of these were answerable by yes or no, while the other 4 questions could be answerable by their own perspective and insights about the topic. The researchers also gathered 10 respondents to answer and give their perspective on the said topic and to gather informative data. The instrument used in this interview through online communication and face-to-face but physical distancing is being observed. These open-ended questions enable and encourage respondents to freely answer the questions and to avoid misunderstandings since the topic is sensitive. In addition, the questions were validated by the researcher's instructor before it was tweeted to the study. Next, locale of the study. This study was conducted to different places of Mindanao, such as Malaybalay City, Paitan in Quezon, Bukidnon, El Salvador in Cagayan, and Zamboanga, Sibugay, in which the researchers and the respondents conducted the interview through Facebook Messenger and face-to-face interview to place that is under modified general community quarantine and follow the safety protocols needed to avoid the coronavirus. Next is the research respondents. The respondents of this research are of diverse age, occupation, and background but do not belong to the LGBTQIA+ community to avoid bias. Some of them are teachers, students, youth leaders, pharmacists, and a school student journalist. They have given 10 questions to answer their stands, opinions, and insights about the LGBTQIA+ rights. The photo shows the amount or the quantity of the pharmacist, which is 1, 6 student, teacher 2, and 1 youth leader, a total of 10 respondents, but do not belong to the LGBTQIA+ community for the reason that to avoid bias. Data gathering procedure. To begin the data collection process, sets of draft questions were presented by the researcher. The questions are evaluated by the researchers and approved by the researcher's instructor. And after finalizing list of questions for the data gathering selection, respondents followed to help the researchers in selecting respondents. Letter of request and informed consent was distributed. Their selection of respondents took a lot of time due to the difficulty to be in a contact with the respondents due to the limitations of the community protocols of the current pandemic. The conduct of the interview proper is planned to take place through video calls, and some agreed to carry on personal interview. Prior to the interview, Questions were sent through emails, Facebook Messenger, and in person. In this study, it will elude opinions and informative data from the respondents through open-ended questions, and during the interview, answers are recorded. Statistical treatment. The responses made by the straight community showing their stand on LGBTQIA+ community rights. After the researchers gather all the information needed from the respondents, the researcher gets the percentage of answers using graph and charts. The questions that is answerable by yes or no would be the basis on getting the percentage using graphs and charts among the 10 respondents that are gathered. The other questions that are answerable by opinions, which will be summarize the data as a graph summary. Descriptive statistics are used to describe the basic features of the data in the study. They provide simple summaries about the sample and the measures, together with simple graphics analysis, and also form the basis of virtually every quantitative analysis of data. And that would be all, and thank you for watching and thank you for listening.